And one back tuning into today's video, we're going to have a look at the autumn of 2014 today. The final and official Gavs Weather Vids autumn forecast is in front of you right now. We're going to get around 8 long-range seasonal models together, see what they're showing for the coming season for the autumn of 2014. Very interesting viewing they're going to make indeed. Now, the last couple of updates have both been pointing towards quite a mild autumn, quite a warm autumn. Also quite unsettled as well with above average rainfall. We'll see whether that trend continues through these models. If it does, it's going to be interesting to see whether I agree with that, or whether actually I want to change things a little bit in terms of my own interpretation. Before I get on with the autumn forecast, so just to mention the ads, there's video ads on my pages at gavsweathervids.com. If you play on video ads, you'll be helping to support gavsweathervids.com. Thanks so much for doing that. The ad essentially pays me to sit here and talk to you via the website. So if you can get involved, if you could hit play on the video ad, you will be helping to support Gavs Weather Vids. Thanks so much for doing that. It's going to be quite a long video, so if you can't watch it all in one sitting, don't worry, it'll be the link to this video will be on my seasonal page. It'll have its own page here at gavsweathervids.com. Excuse me, as long as the website is here. So if you can't watch it all in one sitting, don't worry, you can come back at any time and watch it again, or watch the second half of it, whatever you want to do with the video. It's going to be there for you as long as Gavs Weather Vids is on the internet. And just say, enjoy the video, hope you find it informative, and thanks so much for tuning in. By the way, most of the models that you see in this video, the links to them can be found on my links page. So let's get on with it. We'll start off with the JMA. Don't want to dwell on this too much because I've already done an update with the Japanese model looking at both month ahead and the seasonal forecast. Did that on Friday. And what we see in terms of the 500 millibar flow chart, first of all for September, is that we've got near normal heights there around British Isles, above average heights stretched out to the east through September, and it is quite an unsettled-ish sort of month, but it is quite mild temperatures. The temperature anomaly for September coming out here a little bit above average in most quincas. That's average to slightly above average temperatures for September. For the rainfall, we're coming out a little bit wetter than average, particularly in the north and the west, a little bit drier down to southeast, but overall it's quite an unsettled-ish sort of month being signalled there. Going through to October, and I'll be able to click through to October in a moment. There we go, we're going to go through to October right now when the page clicks over. There we go. A little bit different for October. We find the westerly is strengthening across the Atlantic. We're bringing in a strong jet stream there across the Atlantic. Got below average heights to the north of the country of those blue curves, above average heights down to the south. That's what's strengthening the jet stream running in between the two. Got a strong jet stream running. That's an unsettled looking signal for October. Going to be pretty wet month if that comes off. The temperature comes out a little bit above average in most cream colours. Again, I'm not sure about that. I think it would be nearer normal really with a strong westerly regime, but perhaps more importantly is that the rainfall is coming out above average for all parts of the country. And with such a strong jet stream, I think we would be anticipating the risk of some very strong winds at times through the course of October. Could be a proper stormy old month of it, especially as we go on to later on in the month. Going through to November, finally we find the trough sort of setting up and lifting out a little bit out to the west of the country, a little bit of a ridge setting up down to the southwest around Spain. The airflow with that is going more southwesterly, so we're losing sort of the strong jet stream and the unsettled conditions that we have from October. It's still westerly based, there'll still be unsettled conditions at times, but it's a drier signal. It's also a milder signal as well. Temperatures are forecast again to be coming out average, slightly above average, and in terms of the precipitation, it's a drier signal, it's a little bit wetter for the far north country, most blue colours there for Scotland, but overall it is a drier signal compared to September and particularly to October. So the Japanese is seeing an unsettled autumn, particularly unsettled in September and October. It's also seeing a mild autumn as well, with temperatures in all months signalled to be above the seasonal average. The next month we're going to look at, the next model I should say we're going to look at is the Russian model. These are probability forecasts from Russia, starting off with the temperature probability. First of all, firmly in those red colours there, actually you can't see it, so I won't bother highlighting it, but the reds are so deep you can't see the highlighter pen there, but I can assure you British Isles is just there, bathed in those red colours. That's a strong signal, very strong signal for above average temperatures through the autumn. A very, very warm autumn coming up, if that's right. And going through to the rainfall signal for the autumn, September to November, generally we're coming out average to above average. Those green colours are around the country, particularly around the coast, but of course sea surface temperature anomalies are very warm. So yeah, we're looking at an above average signal there in terms of the rainfall, temperatures above average. So Japanese, Russian, both sort of going for the same idea. Going through to the Brazilian model next, these are 500 millibar heights for next 3 months through the autumn. Always a little bit different with these, but blue colours are indicating above average heights, which is high pressure. The red colours are indicating below average heights, which is low pressure. Always topsy-turvy this one, because that's normally the other way around on a typical 500 millibar height anomaly flowchart. What's going on there is that the jet stream is coming through something like that, and then diving down around that ridge. So it's relatively westerly based, but down to the southwest we've got high pressure close by, so perhaps it's a little bit drier down in the south, but overall I think it's still quite an unsettled signal actually, that particularly perhaps for the north and the east. It's milder than average again. We're in those yellow colours there, so that's temperatures coming out above average through the autumn. No great surprises about that. Precipitation, although the high pressure, the above average heights is down to the southwest, it's actually still unsettled. There's the British Isles just there, and we're in those blue colours. The reason is that we've got quite a strong jet stream coming almost through the country, even though the high pressure is quite close by down to the southwest. So actually rainfall comes out above average. So 3 models so far, Japanese, Russian and Brazilian, all sort of going for the same idea, a warmer than average autumn, but also unsettled, wetter than average as well. NASA next. This is the experimental model from NASA. These are 500 millibar height anomalies, and the British Isles on this one is just over here as you're looking at it. And again, the idea is that we've got sort of above average heights. I'll go to this side of the charts. Above average heights sitting to the east of the country, and probably below average heights presumably sitting to the west. The jet stream is probably doing something like that. So actually it's probably, I would suggest, quite an unsettled and probably quite mild signal for the autumn. The temperature forecast is coming out above average in those yellow colours, warmer than average autumn, again suggested by NASA. Rainfall, interestingly, is coming out near normal. Actually, to the north, it's a little bit drier. Actually, not sure if you can make that out, but in those yellow colours to the northwest, a little bit drier than average there. But overall, it's near sort of normal rainfall on that sort of a setup. So that's the first one that's not really suggested a wetter than average autumn coming up. Nevertheless, on the 500 millibar prediction that it's showing, I would suggest it's likely to be quite an unsettled autumn, particularly perhaps for the north and the west. Going through to the CFS version 2 model, so we're dealing with all the products for the United States in one go. This is the 700 millibar height anomaly chart from the CFS model. We've got a ridge of above average heights, high pressure, set up in the middle of the Atlantic. Not a lot going on otherwise. We've got a ridge of high pressure up to the northeast of Scandinavia. That's sort of a Siberian high beginning to get itself together. Otherwise, not a great deal going on. I think the jet stream is probably running more or less through the country. It may not be particularly strong jet. I don't think it's suggesting sort of strong jet that we've got on the Japanese model, but nevertheless, it's a pretty strong jet stream being suggested there, and it is running right through the country. The temperature signal is near normal out to west, a little bit but cooler than average for parts of France and Spain. The warmth is suggested to be out to the east and the northeast. That's where we've got that ridge, of course, up to the northeast. Got a ridge of high pressure up here. The jet stream is running through more or less into the British Isles, and then it goes northwards around that ridge, or it's splitting around the ridge. So overall temperatures there signalled to be near normal from the CFS. The rainfall forecast, Well, it's again hard to decipher. These charts are always difficult to decipher from the CFS, but I think the jet stream is going through something like that, so that is why, and then up to there, that's why it's looking wetter than average through northern parts of Spain, through France, into Germany. Suggestion is that it's a little bit wetter than average, and then it's a little bit drier than average, actually being suggested for Ireland and Scotland, presumably from some sort of area of high pressure. But it's hard to make it out what's going on there, but I think overall, despite those splotches of drier than average for Scotland and all right, I think that's an unsettled signal really for the autumn that is being predicted from the CFS model. And it might not be all that warm either, because I think the jet stream is more or less trending just to the south through this wet zone here from northern Spain into France, going up to Germany. I think the jet stream is really through there, so we're almost more or less on the coldest side of the jet. So it could be a fairly cool autumn, probably quite unsettled, maybe particularly unsettled down to the south. The Hugues van der Dul charts next. Now these are a little bit different. These are models. What we're looking at here is a sea surface temperature anomaly, or it's not a sea surface temperature anomaly, sorry, I've got that wrong. What we're looking at here is an analogue based on sea surface temperature anomaly. So what Hugues has done, he's got the sea surface temperatures from across the world, he's put them together in this particular month, and this was generated back in July, and then from those sea surface temperature anomalies he's looked back at past years that had similar sea surface temperature anomalies and created a forecast. Okay, hope that makes sense. So what he's showing for the 500 millibar height anomaly prediction based on his analogues is that we're going to have high pressure around the country. This is the first time really that we've suggested above average heights around the country. We've got a trough sitting out to the east around Scandinavia, eastern parts of Europe. That is not as unsettled as we've seen so far on most of these charts. Temperature anomalies, still unsurprisingly, we've had this on all models so far, except maybe the CFS. Temperature anomalies coming out warmer than the average in most salmon pink colours. Notice that for Scandinavia, most Eastern Europe, it is colder than average. That could be beginning to lay the foundations for a cold winter. Who is seeing the chance of a cold winter? I think the foundations are being laid there with those cold anomalies there over Scandinavia and East Europe. By the way, if you're interested in winter, I'm going to have a look at that on the blog this evening. So come back this evening for a quick sneak peek on the blog. The flash page, if you want to see what we're seeing on some of these models for the winter. But going on to the precipitation forecast from Hugues van der Dul for the autumn, actually he's seeing it near normal to slightly drier than average there around the country, but wetter than average anomalies are out in the central part of the Atlantic around here with this area of low pressure. So this is the first model we've looked at that sort of suggested we could get a drier autumn. All the other models have very much been on the side of wetter than average. This is the first one really that suggested a drier autumn is a possibility, with the rainfall being blocked quite a bit out in the Atlantic. Can we look at our very own model, the UK Met Office next. These are the sea level pressure anomalies for the autumn, September, October, November. We're seeing a ridge of high pressure around the Azores, low pressure around Greenland. This is a classic westerly scenario. The jet stream is coming through, something like that. And then maybe diving southwards a little bit there, because there could be a bit of a ridge up here, up over Scandinavia. But overall, that's a mild signal for the autumn. It's also a westerly signal. Could be strong westerlies coming in at times, so you would expect above average rainfall. Let's have a look at the temperature forecast. It's not really surprising from that scenario. Temperatures are being forecast to be above average in most yellow colours. Not sure it'll be quite as warm as that, because in September and October a westerly isn't all that warm, to be honest. It's not as warm as a southerly or a southeasterly. When you get to November, of course, westerlies do become milder then, so it swings around about. So I'd expect it to be a little bit closer to the average actually on that sort of sea level pressure setup that the model was seeing. Going through to precipitation forecast, no surprise, it's seeing a wetter than average autumn. So we're back to warmer and wetter with the UK Met Office. Hugo van der Doel very much looking on his own with this. Going through to the Jamstec IOD, and we're coming towards the end now. Jamstec IOD seeing a warmer than average autumn. This is a bit of a change round. Earlier on in the autumn, I think Jamstec was one of the models that was indicating chance of a cooler than average autumn, but now we're in those salmon pink colours, as is most Europe. A very warm autumn coming up there for most of Europe. In terms of the rainfall, again, look at this, it's wetter than average. It's a strong signal, isn't it? Wetter than average autumn, above average temperatures. The only model, and it's a different idea, it's analog based rather than actually being a numerical model, is Hugo van der Doel, suggesting a drier autumn. Otherwise, very much the signal is for a wetter than average autumn. This is a stronger signal than we had last month. Last month, the signal sort of backed off a little bit for a wetter than average autumn, but it's back big time this month, wetter than average being predicted by Jamstec IOD. And then finally, we're nearly at the end now. Here is the Beijing Climate Centre. These are 500 millibar height anomalies from the Beijing Climate Centre. Those blue colours there are in across Europe and into the British Isles. We've got blocking setting up to the northeast. That's an unsettled signal for the autumn. We're bringing in westerlies, I think, in the south, but in the north we could be bringing in easterly, maybe northeasterly flows. So it's a bit of a battleground situation, Matt. When temperatures overall could come out near north, but in the north it could be colder, in the south it could be milder, but all places would be unsettled, I think, on that sort of scenario. Again, this could be laying the groundwork for a cold winter. I've shown you the charts of Beijing Climate Centre for the winter in several videos through the last couple of weeks. And this is just sort of the start of laying the foundations, particularly in terms of the blocking around Greenland for the winter that it is setting up. But let's concentrate on the autumn, and we're seeing near normal temperatures here across the country in those white colours just there. And again, I think we've got a bit of a battle going on between perhaps northeasterly winds in the north, although it's suggesting warmer than average, funnily enough, for the northern parts of the country and cooler down to the south. But I think overall it's near normal because we've got a battleground UK scenario setting up. And finally, having a look at the precipitation, well, there's the zone of wetter than average that's coming through the Atlantic on that jet stream. It gets to the British Isles, and actually it's showing near normal precipitation there, and maybe a little bit drier up to the north. That's because we've got that ridging getting set up in the northern latitude. But overall, this rainfall signal for us is near normal, but I would increase that to wetter than average. I think this wet band here through the central part of the Atlantic will definitely be impacting the British Isles on that sort of 500 millibar height anomaly prediction. So that's it. That is all the models that I've got to look at. Very interesting they were too. I think you can clearly see that the models are looking at a warmer than average autumn and a wetter than average autumn. There's a very strong signal for that. Now the question is whether I agree with the models or whether I want to sort of interpret this a little bit and change it towards my own interpretation. Now I'm going to suggest that many of these forecasts were generated before the flip occurred to a colder month this August, and we've got to work out whether the change to colder conditions this autumn is just a one-off, whether it's generally limited to this August, or whether it's going to go on through the subsequent months, and that's causing me a few problems. So let's deal with the we're going to have above average rainfall. I think there's a very strong signal for that. I think we'll have an unsettled autumn, perhaps particularly the first half of the autumn, maybe less so once we get through to November. But I think for the first half of the autumn, with such warm sea surface temperature anomalies around the country, pretty strong signal for a wetter than average autumn. The temperature forecast is a little bit more difficult because we've got this cold August, and does this cold August go on into the autumn? Now, the signal within the models is very strong for warmer than average, but I'm going to reduce that a bit, and I'm going to say it's nearer normal So I'm going to go for average temperatures for the autumn. I think they're going to be coming out nearer normal. There could be kind of an average month in there. I think we'll probably also get a warmer than average month at some point as well. Maybe most likely to be September. But I'm not sure how it breaks down in terms of the months. I think overall we're coming out near normal with the temperatures, which is a reduction on what we've had through 2014 so far. Every month up to August through 2014 has been above average, and of course every season, winter, spring and midsummer, despite the cool August, is going to be above average. So it's a reduction in terms of the temperatures for the autumn, coming down to nearer normal. Rainfall coming out above average. A wet autumn, likely maybe drier, a little bit drier later on. So that's the Gavs Weathervids prediction. Complicated, I know. I've gone against the models a little bit in terms of the temperatures. We're going for an above average. We're going for above average rainfall and near normal temperatures this autumn. It's going to be very interesting how it plays out. As ever, I'll verify this forecast when we get through to the start of the next season into winter. We'll come back and verify the autumn forecast. So temperatures average, wetter than average is the prediction from gavsweathervids.com for the autumn of 2014. I found the video interesting. Come back to the blog this evening, the flash page, because we're going to have a look at one or two of the models, see what they're showing for winter as a sneak peek, because from next month we're going to be moving on from autumn into winter updates. Very interesting and exciting that will be, and the start of it is tonight on the flash, so come back for that. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.